NBC Sports puts all the pieces together, blending a tradition rich in memories with innovation and the latest in television technology. Great moments come alive on NBC Sports.
It is opening day for baseball here on NBC, and you'll see either the world champion Minnesota Twins from the Metrodome, where last night it was business as usual. Dan Gladden sparked the Twins with 4 hits, including this home run, to the delight of Minnesota's Homer Hankey crowd. Or you'll see the controversial Darryl Strawberry and his New York Mets, with Strawberry off to a fast start. The Mets go against the Phillies at Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia. But first, NBC Sports presents Major League Baseball, an inside look. Brought to you by Ryder. We're there at every turn. And by Miller Lite. For great taste, there's only one light beer. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marv Albert in New York, and welcome to the start of NBC's coverage of baseball for this 1988 season. And we are delighted to be back with you on the pregame show. Our guests today include Minnesota Twins first baseman Kent Hrbek. And then we dramatically and emotionally build to the man who is called Mr. Univac, Steve Hirdt, who is baseball's statistical maven. Actually, it may be a very slow build. On the subject of Hrbek and his champion Twins, moments ago at the Metrodome, the Twins were presented with their World Series rings. Ceremonies presided over by Baseball Commissioner Peter Ueberroth. Manager Tom Kelly accepting the Twins, who won the AL West with that record of 85 and 77, despite winning only 29 games on the road, then went on to beat Detroit in the AL Championship Series, took the Cardinals in 7 in the World Series, so they are closing the chapter to a magical season in the Twin Cities, capped off by receiving the World Series rings. Let's check out what is going on in baseball at this hour. 3 games underway in the second inning. Detroit and Kansas City, no score. In the third, the Indians, with a record of 3-1, clobbering the Orioles 9-0. 2-run home run hit by Corey Snyder. And in the third, the Reds won and the Astros nothing. Now, in games of note last night, there were a couple of explosive moments in Anaheim following Mark McGwire's first home run of the season early in the game. McGwire hit by Kurt McCaskill, leading to mayhem, although no punches were thrown. But McGwire said next time he will retaliate. And then in Arlington last night, Marty Barrett of the Red Sox and Texas pitcher Mitch Williams exchanged unpleasant words, leading to a full-scale brawl that also involved Dwight Evans. The base brawl off to an early start. At Yankee Stadium, that well-known author Dave Winfield continues to do it at the plate in his intramural battle with George Steinbrenner. 2 homers for Winfield, and the Yankee went over Milwaukee, and the crowd has made it clear where they stand. Gary Carter wasn't clear where he was standing last night as the Met loss to the Phils ended with Carter taking a stroll, victimized by Steve Jeltz right here. He pulled a rarity, the hidden ball trick. Despite his 3 hits, it was not a happy 34th birthday for Gary Carter of the Mets. Looking back at this first week of the 1988 season, no surprises, the home run was prominent, starting last Monday on opening day when Darryl Strawberry hit that monster shot off the roof of Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Here is the play-by-play call of Met broadcaster Gary Thorne.
Strawberry, who's had one of the home runs, swings it. It's a high fly ball deep to right field, way up off the roof. It hit the roof. It hit the roof of Olympic Stadium, bounds down into right center field. It is a home run. Darryl Strawberry with a monstrous fly stops at second. He doesn't know if it's a homer yet. The umpire signals it was. It hit the roof in right center field in Olympic Stadium.
Darryl was not the only home run hitter for the Mets. In all, they smashed a team record 6 round trippers, setting a major league record for an opening game over the American League. Toronto's George Bell was not to be outdone. He became the first major leaguer to hit 3 home runs on opening day. Brett Saberhagen of the Royals tagged for all 3. All this amidst the spring training feud with Toronto's management about his new status as the Blue Jays' designated hitter. This past Tuesday at Yankee Stadium, the cheers for Dave Winfield, a strong showing of support from Yankee fans. Winfield and owner George Steinbrenner have been feuding over his controversial book, And Winfield responded with a game-winning RBI single as the Yankees blanked the Twins. And the new balk rule is already creating havoc. Roger Clemens, a victim 3 times on opening day. There have been 39 balks called through last night's game, but this time last year only 13. And on Wednesday, Steve Trout continued to have control difficulties. Now with Seattle, Trout had a disastrous start against Oakland. He threw 2 wild pitches, gave up 4 runs, walked 5 in only 2/3 of an inning. And sadly, he may be following along the lines of Joe Cowley and Steve Blass.
58, now worth $32. Yogi Berra in 1958, now worth $17. These are all my cards. Dan Dobek, 4 cents. That's 4 cents today. Jerry Kendall, 18 cents. This is, of course, do you remember the action cards? This is Willie Mays making the great catch. If you move it fast, it actually looks like Willie's still sort of moving. $1.50. See, we still have a little time with my watch. $8.
Gary pulling out all the stops, using props to enhance his presentation. The Alias Sports Bureau has been the official statistician of Major League Baseball since the days when Babe Ruth was a pitcher, and they have been certainly the keeper of the records. Steve Hirdt is Executive Vice President of Alias, and he is the co-author of the 1988 Alias Baseball Analyst. Steve has been affectionately labeled Mr. Univac, a nickname that was coined by Frank Gifford for your statistical work on Monday Night Football. For Frank, that is a knee slapper. Among your numerous duties with Alias over the years, you have come up with some extraordinary stats that have dispelled some myths. Now, can you shock us, Steve? Can you tell me something that I can say, wow, I didn't know that?
Well, I think it might shock a Major League manager if he realized that the first 10 games of his season are indeed a very good precursor of how he'll do that year. In other words, it is a long season, but your first 10 games will pretty much tell you where you stand. If you look at teams that get off to a bad start, 3-7 or worse, only 4% of those teams in this century have come back to win a league or division title. So that, looking at today's standings, there's a bunch of teams on the road to a bad start right now.
For the Braves and Padres 0-4, it may be all over.
Well, we'll know by the end of next week at the least.
Anything else that you can throw at us?
In terms of individuals, some players get attached to themselves undeserved reputations as failures in the clutch. Darryl Strawberry's been booed by the fans at Shea for that reason, but over the past 5 years, he's hit 50 points higher with men on base than with the bases empty. That's a big difference. It's sort of like having the difference between Steve Garvey or Brian Bosworth date your daughter.
Yeah.
But the other guy, Wade Boggs in Boston, hears it from the crowd up there. 354 lifetime average, and it was in runners in scoring position 361, and in the late innings 374. What do you want?
Now, Dave Winfield is off to a hot start, but with some of the statements made in his new book, angering Yankee owner George Steinbrenner, George has revived the cry of calling him or labeling him as Mr. May. Is that accurate? Is Winfield a good clutch hitter?
Well, George is doubtless remembering, it's probably seared in his memory, that 1-for-22 performance in the World Series of '81. But if you look at Winfield's career, rather than 1 week of his career, you'll see that since he joined the Yankees, he's produced better numbers than he had when he was with San Diego. Not only in terms of driving in runs, but in terms of driving in the percentage of guys who he had on base. Because with the Yankees, he's had a lot of guys on base, but with San Diego, he had even more. And he's driven in a greater percentage with the Yankees than with the Padres.
Who today is the most overrated player in the game?
Leon Durham would come to mind as one of the guys right up there. Leon might go to bed every night saying a little prayer that he got to play in Wrigley Field for the last 7 years, because 2/3 of his home runs have been hit there. And when you look at his batting average for men in scoring position, it's declined steadily over the recent years. Wrigley Field, of course, is the best hitter's park in baseball for home runs.
Who would you say has been the most underrated player?
Underrated? John Kruk of San Diego, certainly. 312 career hitter, but the tougher the situation gets, the better his performance gets. And Harold Baines of the White Sox, only guy in baseball who in each of the last 5 years, 20 homers and a .280 batting average.
All right, would you leave us with the Mr. Univac fact of the day, something that we can really munch on?
Well, for fans who think that the Cardinals won't miss Jack Clark, our book points out that the Clark teammates last year hit .271 in games when he was in the lineup, but .229 collectively when he didn't play. If you think the Mets are a lock for the World Series, just consider that there have been 50 teams that won the World Series and then failed to get back in the next year. Of those 50, only 5 have won the series again the following year. And if you think that there's not enough attention to defensive statistics in baseball, Jesse Barfield, 59 assists over the last 3 years. Now, that may not sound like a lot, but consider that Manute Bol has 34 over the same span.
Manute, of course, Steve, has been working on his outside shot, and that is the reason. Mr. Univac, Steve Hirdt of the Alias Sports Bureau, thank you for joining us.